So here is my. If you see my bite size of the bad guys too, I did mention that I gave myself a double feature, and luckily, I will say that this double feature came out a little bit better because I went to the old to the old movie theater that I usually went, which it was called Carasodas, but this chain of movie theaters went merged with Regal, and I'm gonna say that Regal does a little bit of a better job on customer service compared to AMC. Although you still had to sit through some ads. I think it had more ads than trailers, but at least I'll give it credit that it they're not abusive with the trailer. But still, I will say I want to. This is a little bit on a protest by saying that movie theaters should not show ads during after that. I mean, you already had your segment before about the ads and all this stuff. Leave trailers, where it was fine before, but what you're doing is very intrusive. But anyway, the second movie that I wanted to watch after the bad guys was none other than the Naked Gun, which is the revival of this old franchise of the Naked Gun. It's mostly kind of like this tongue-in-cheek comedy, which parodies, cops, the detectives, and all these stories. And if you all remember, I think it was 2 or 3 movies that it starred, of course, the Leslie Nielsen. I remember watching only the first one. The fun thing is that the first one I watched it on Spanish. The first time I saw this movie was while I was on vacation. I lived in Ecuador when I was a child, and it was during the time in which we were cheap. We didn't want to go from the coastal cities to the mountain cities by plane. It's expensive, so my family and I had to go on a bus. And there was kind of like these rare occasions in which they had these bus had TV on it, and it was one of those occasions in which they showed the Naked Gun. And that was when I watched the whole movie, and I remember laughing my ass on that movie. And I haven't seen the other ones, but I know how this movie basically has become kind of like a pop cultural meme. Because even if you haven't seen the movie, the scene in which everyone, you see a big crowd, slapping their head. That's how we all remember the Naked Gun, and also of course the intros with the cop siren, the lights, and going through weird stuff. Even Family Guy, you can tell that they have kind of like this. I think that they have kind of like this deep love to the franchise. I do remember they made a parody of that with Stewie doing that. Oh, and speaking of Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane itself, he's the producer of this revival of the Naked Gun. But you say revival, but you're them asking how we're gonna revive a franchise now that Leslie Nielsen is no longer with us. Well, instead of Leslie Nielsen, we got Liam Neeson. Funny thing is that some friends saying that, do you think they picked this role because Liam Neeson sounds a little bit like Leslie Nielsen? I don't know. Although you know that I do remember that my first impressions when I saw the trailer, it was yeah, it's goofy and all this stuff, but I was still, like always kind of like this cautionary, because we're now living kind of like a day and age in which Hollywood kind of ran out of ideas, and now they're doing remakes, revivals, and all this stuff in which it can either go good or it can either go bad. For example, right now, the Amazing World of Gumball revived itself, and it now is the Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball. And I saw the whole batch of episodes that it came out, and I like it. I like that it's still the same show that we used to love. Although there are 2 or 3 stinkers, but nothing is perfect. Also, people are talking about the King of the Hill revival, but unfortunately, I'm not very keen that they use the Pixar approach in which everybody's getting old, and now it's showing us how old we are. This is basically what I call the middle-age syndrome. It's, and that's what they do every time when they bring back franchises from the dead and all this stuff instead of rebooting. I honestly prefer a reboot more than continuation of series or something like that. In this case, the Naked Gun, I was like, yeah. We got Liam Neeson playing the character of Frank Drebin Jr., the son of Frank Drebin, the original guy from the original guy played by Leslie Nielsen, and even the trailer showcases that. Although I gotta admit that I think at least the trailer make fun of it, in which they have kind of like a big crowd of people saying that, oh, I'm gonna be like you, something like that. It's almost like they those legacy characters, and of course they also address the elephant in the room, in which, okay, I'm gonna address it. One of the characters, especially from the first movie, we got of course O.J. Simpson playing a character. And you know that O.J. Simpson, long story short, we know him. We know that he is basically not seeing in the good eyes. But I can be kind of like the guy that in some occasions I can separate the art from the artist. But at least they acknowledge that, oh yeah, O.J. was there, and even the trailer is like, his picture is there, and the legacy guy is like. That gave me even a little bit of a chuckle when I went to watch it. But yeah, but still, I was kind of, again, cautionary. I don't know if I was gonna support this, but still, I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna skip it until I've been hearing people say that it's one of the funniest comedies of the year. So I was like, okay, let's watch it. I went there. You're right. This year's Naked Gun, well, I'm not gonna say that it was perfect. This is the kind of comedy that I was a little bit missing, because the movie itself doesn't take itself seriously, and it was, again, the type of tongue-in-cheek kind of humor that you're gonna get. It has some naughty jokes, but it doesn't go over the Richter scale like some Seth Rogen movie, or like and swearing all the time and all this stuff. No, actually, I really appreciate that this movie, despite anything, it doesn't go overboard on the raunchiness, and it feels like this is something that that you can watch. And a lot of the gags, I will say that 80% of the gags really work. It really works. There were some jokes that it really left me laughing. Some of them I was like, okay. Some of them were like, and you know what? This is also gonna be one of those difficult vlogs that I want to do with that because I don't want to reveal too much about it. But man, that I feel appreciative that this movie came out. So basically, yeah, The Naked Gun as a story is very kind of like simple in its way. We got, of course, Liam Neeson playing Frank Drebin Jr. He's the son of course, Frank Drebin, he was Leslie Nielsen at that. He is basically this detective. He lost his wife. He's always, Liam Neeson being Liam Neeson. And the biggest thing is that he's trying to find some bank robbers, but at the same time, that bank robbery is merged with another case of a murder that happened, in which he gets the case from this woman who's played by Pamela Anderson. And basically, it goes deep down the rabbit hole, which basically it involves this rich guy, played by Danny Houston, who basically he stole this machine called the plot device, in which this rich guy wants to basically, the best way I can describe it is that, remember if you have seen this movie Kingsman, the first one, remember they build kind of like this machine in which it brings people into their primitive emotional rage, in which everyone gets violent and they punch each other. Well, he wants to do that so he can hide, the rich people, on a bunker, and when everyone is down, then they can roam free and all that. Now that I think about it, it is the plan of Kingsman. One of the devices that he stole is actually named Plot Device, by the way. That was kind of hilarious. But that's basically the plot. It's just as simple, as silly as you can get. And as for the acting, honestly, don't expect too much some good acting. I mean, they did their best, and we had Pamela Anderson. I don't think that she's not exactly kind of like the best actor you can get, but the main focus, at least that got me worried, is Liam Neeson, because, to be honest, I didn't have too much faith on him, because honestly, I never expected Liam Neeson to partake a movie like that. For starters, he's not a comedic actor. I mostly know him for more kind of like an action serious guy, and so in a movie like that, it was gonna be kind of like hard to see it, because he doesn't even have the face for someone who should be a comedian. Then I was talking with some peers and told me that honestly, Liam Neeson, well, he when he started the first Naked Gun, he already had actually one comedic role, which is the airplane. So he was actually also fresh on doing comedic roles. So it got me thinking. But it was like, it was kind of like a little bit hard to pinpoint which it is. I mean, it's almost like this movie in which a lot of people don't like, which is called Spiral. The movie Spiral had Chris Rock, and that Chris Rock is mostly a comedic actor, but in this Spiral, he basically took on a more serious role. But in this case of this one, I was kind of like, okay, Liam Neeson, I don't think so. And honestly, maybe this is what made some of the jokes not land. But I still gotta appreciate also that Liam Neeson was actually in it for the joke, and I gotta admit that he did some he did that. I gotta respect him. I respect the guy for making himself a fool, considering that, well, he's mostly an action guy. I mean, even Schwarzenegger had to play the fool sometimes in some movies. Okay, there were some actors here and there. Again, I said Pamela Anderson, Danny Houston. What else I can name here? DCH Pounder, she plays the chief. Kevin Durant is also there. Paul Walter Hauser is also there. There are some other actors who also have some cameos. Even Weird Al Yankovic also appears there. At first, I thought that he may be a fake because I was more used to see Weird Al, I think with a mustache, I think it had, but maybe that's just me. Okay, I will say that maybe a little bit the cinematography is also, I will say that maybe it didn't feel quite a little bit right with me because the cinematography, it felt a little bit too modern, right? But honestly, this is just me because still it really, you can see that some of the cheapness that the movie had, it kind of enhances some of the quality of the humor, because this is not a movie that it wants to take seriously, making big budget or something like that. It just wanted to make a comedy. That's all it is, and a lot of the gags are kind of like really, really funny. And I haven't, although I'm not gonna say too much about CGI all the time, but you can see that there were some practical effects here and there, which is admirable. Some CGI here and there, but let's say that after watching this year's War of the Worlds, nothing is gonna be nothing's gonna look as bad as that. So okay, there were some gags that I really like. Again, some of those naughty. For example, probably the joke that make me laugh really hard is without spoiling too much. It has to do when someone get grossed out because, well, it mentioned Bill Cosby. I'm not gonna say how the joke went in, but because I want you to hear the execution of it and the reaction to it, and that reaction is what made me laugh out loud. This is probably the biggest joke I can get. I also love the running gag, in which the running gag is that no matter where everyone goes, everyone is holding up kind of like this cup of coffee. The whole police department always kind of carry a cup of coffee, and they kind of get so much of the surplus that they just waste it. It's like, hey, here it is. Oh, thank you. Thank you. They even get coffee out of nowhere. I'm surprised they didn't have Starbucks. I'm surprised they didn't get Starbucks sponsoring the movie. That is probably one of my favorite running gags out of it. But there is also a scene in which it kind of turns into itself another movie. But let's say that there is a moment in which the movie combines both the Michael Keaton Jack Frost and the horror movie Jack Frost. I am not kidding that it comes to a moment in which they combine the two Jack Frost movies into one. And that moment is hilarious. I'm not gonna say how it goes, but why it happens. It just happened. Just watch that moment, and that is, if you call me which is my favorite part of the movie, is that moment. Also the Bill Cosby joke, and of course the coffee, and there's some other jokes that I will not dare to reveal, because honestly, if I keep talking, it's gonna ruin you, because this is not a movie that you have to watch to take it seriously. Just a couple of gags and just leave your mind out of it and laugh it up. It of course, again, it it will take you a while to cement your head that Liam Neeson is going for the comedy, and of course, granted, the comedic chop of Liam Neeson doesn't hold a candle compared to Leslie Nielsen. I think it is that Leslie Nielsen, as when he became a comedic actor, there was something about him that kind of makes him kind of like laughable, and I think that Leslie Nielsen kind of had the comedic timing and the comedic approach, or the way there's something about him that you could buy him as an actor, for comedic values. Liam Neeson, I don't think that he is much exactly like the best comedian that there is, but well, at least I will say he's trying, and I will say, I'll say that yeah, this is probably one of the better revivals I have seen over the last couple of years, in terms that it doesn't itself take too seriously. It just gags. I did say some of the gags that I tell you, but I truly tell you that it works better when you see them. I didn't reveal the jokes. I'm just saying the what happened, and it's just silly. So honestly, the Naked Gun, it bears it all, and I give it kind of like a high recommendation if you want some very, very, very goofy time.